Thank you guys all for being here tonight. I hope you've all had a wonderful day today. We're going to go ahead and get started. I just wanted to introduce myself first. I'm Lauren Chambers with the Urbana Free Library. And on behalf of the library and on Pygmalion, we just want to thank you guys all for coming. We're so happy that even though COVID is still going on and it's the Delta variant, we were still able to hold this program outside in this absolutely wonderful location. And without further ado, because I know you're not here to hear me talk, I'm going to turn it over to Angel Garcia, who's going to give an introduction before he later leads a Q&A.
Hello, you all. How are you doing? Good. Can everyone hear me? Yeah? All right. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I know that this is going maybe unexpected for you all, but it's going to be a very pleasant surprise. We're going to have someone reading here tonight who is powerful, who has an important message, who is speaking about things of our time that we all need to be able to hear. So I'm going to also ask that, you keep conversations to a minimum, and then we can get started. So I have the pleasure of introducing Crystal Valentine. She is a internationally acclaimed poet, activist, and educator. She is the author of Not Everything is a Eulogy. Valentine is the winner of the 2015 and 2013 College Union's Poetry Slam Invitational, and second place winner of the National Poetry Slam, and the 9th-ranked poet by way of the Women of the World Poetry Slam and Individual Poetry Slam. That's already a lot, y'all. That's already... Valentine has traveled across seas, performing on platforms in Paris, Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, and elsewhere. She was named Glamour Magazine's 2016 College Woman of the Year, Teen Vogue's Rising Young Black Thought Leader, and was the recipient of the National Conference of College Women Student Leaders Women's Distinction Award. A Callaloo Fellow and 2015 New York City Youth Poet Laureate, Valentine's work has been featured on MSNBC, Blavity, Button Poetry, The Huffington Post, BET, CNN, The New York Daily News, and more. More importantly, beyond the accolades, we should think about what a poet's saying thematically, right? The kind of message and content that they're sharing. So, hailed as a winning wordsmith by the New York Daily Times News, Crystal Valentine is a internationally acclaimed poet, activist, and educator. These poems that she's going to be reading tonight are filled with history, blackness, and a fight to be heard. Valentine clenches these righteous poems like fists and offers it to the world. A generator and a fierce projector of black joy, and strongly believes that intersectionality is a key factor in liberation. And who doesn't, right? Intersectionality. As a queer black woman, a lot of her work revolves around bridging the ever-present gap between her identities. Her goal is to provide a sanctuary with her poems that can be accessible to all black people, queer, trans, women, gender non-conforming, poor, loud, angry, ghetto, for it is when all of these voices are present and accounted for that we can really begin the gruesome work of understanding and breaking down systemic oppression. If you all can give me another round for Crystal Valentine.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Crystal Valentine, and I am going to be doing some poems for you all. I see a lot of the pride flags on people's masks. I see it in your hair. One thing you should know about me, I'm hella gay. And I have some gay poems for you. And I also have some sex poems for you. But before I get into that, I want to kind of clear the space. And I always do this poem at the beginning of my set because it lets people know kind of where I'm coming from. And I will say that this is my first in-person performance since 2019. So these are some new poems that I'm going to be reading. I never really read them in front of a live crowd, so who knows if they're good, but hopefully they are. And for those who listen to poetry, here's some things that you can do to help me out. I always like to engage with people, right? I think that's a transaction. So if you hear something that I like, you can do something like snap your fingers. Yeah. You could do something like clap your hands. If you want to like really let me know you're feeling it, you can say, "Go in, poet." Let's try that again. "Go in, poet." Or you could just give me a nice yes. Anything like that. So let's get into it. And this is a short one. In response to the friends who say I write too many black poems, a man, woman, child died today, yesterday, tomorrow. They looked just like me. I still call their names. These black poems are how I put flowers on their graves. It is a slow burn when your own people mistake your love for anger, mistake your self-preservation for a cliche. Thank you. Sometimes I go to readings and I think that people don't know what I'm about, right? So I'm hella black. I'm loudly black. I'm also hella queer, proud of it, right? Imagine that, black queer person still alive today. But God damn it, I'm here and I'm alive today with y'all. So I'm gonna do this poem and it's dedicated to my girlfriend. I love her. Is anybody in love? So the thing about my girlfriend, yes, keep that hand all the way up. The thing about my girlfriend is that she helps me with my hair. So sometimes if I'm having like a bad hair day, she'll swoop in literally and save the day for me. She likes to do this thing where she lays my edges, keep them nice and fleeky. So here's dedicated to her, and this poem is entitled How to Lay Your Edges, and it's after Aziza Barnes. My girl does it while she hums. Always something classic, Beyonce, or the Insecure soundtrack, but she don't bob her head. Instead, she tilts it as if saying, huh? Like how Francina do when I ask her a question she don't understand, or her landlord asks her for the rent and she don't get paid till next Friday. If you use anything but the toothbrush from the 99-cent store up the block, you bougie. Start on the left side. Grip the toothbrush firm and steady. Lower its teeth into the jar of Pro-Style gel. Let it come up black and dripping. She settles me in the red cushion of her couch or sandwiches me in between the split of her legs. We stare into the full-length mirror duct taped onto her wall. Her rosary hammered above sways across our reflected hairlines, mine pushed back further than hers. You stock up on the gel. You lay your edges when your hair fresh. Braids woven, twist spun, kink burned straight, hang time falling like a limp curtain, a crow's body just above your shoulders. You lay them for the interview, for the first day of high school. Use extra hold gel if you make it to graduation. You tie them down with a black scarf for the funeral. When everybody come down the block to pay respect to their auntie, they neighbor's son, they mama, they crush from sixth period math, watch cold shards be lowered into the ground while they hold cheap candles with Jesus and Mary imprisoned on the glass. You skip the extra hold and use beeswax for the baptism. The toothbrush comes down and up like a soft dip, a bird rethinking landing. I know my girl loves me because she lays my edges even though I ain't got none. They fell like feathers, like snow, like rust from my sky, my scalp a bad omen. I told her I was balding, she laid hands on me. I told her they fell out in clumps, I ain't got no velvet. My beauty done soured, God looks at me and purses her lips. My girl hummed soft and low, prayed over the toothbrush, dipped its bristles in water, prepared the gel, her breath a choir, her moving mouth my only psalm. Thank you. Okay, so I'm like 2 poems in. I feel like I know y'all. We're basically best friends now. So I want to get a little bit intimate. Can I get a little intimate with y'all? Not the sexual way, the vulnerable way. Don't worry, the sex is coming, don't worry. So speaking of hair and hair falling out, my mom has cancer. She has stage 4 cancer. And my mom is the inspiration for a lot of my poems. And she's lucky enough to kind of keep a lot of her hair. Her hair actually grew longer when she started her treatment. I've never seen anything before, but sometimes I just like to play with her hair. This poem is an adjacent poem to that. Bye. Come back. So this poem is like an adjacent poem to that. I wrote this poem as a distraction. I tried to write about her having cancer, but it was hard for me to do that. So I just wrote a letter dedicated to the wall. It's a little angsty, you know, it's a little emo, it's a little bit ragey, but that's okay, right? We're gonna be on this ride together? Okay. So this is called Epistle, or Letter to be Read to the Wall. I never thought I would turn into such an unlikable person, and yet, here I am, sitting on my couch in all of my unlikableness, eating mediocre Popeye's chicken, debating between its bones and my bones about whether or not Wendy's has the best sweet and sour sauce. Truly, any other coating used to sharpen the sugar of a body's deadbeat loneliness is no contestant. In a YouTube video, I catch a glimpse of an owner, tweezers pinched in hand, removing ticks from a dog's bubbled ear, and now I cannot unsee. Its pus, now my pus, refuses to leave. I dream one day to find relief through the metal clench of a human instrument. Until then, I fade translucent in my home, pretending that being naked and being honest is the same thing. I suffer fruit while in the kitchen, swap mold with the peers, their seeds cradled in edible wombs, the conceit of all my fears. I do not like my bed. I spend most of my time on the toilet, though I don't like the way I shit. There is no ease, no ebb and flow, just a hard strain and a possible tear. How lonely is that? I cannot find a better half, and so I split. I cannot get a hold on myself. I am told to write a letter, but my mother has cancer. I'm told to write a letter, but the verse is too glass, too reflection, no trapdoor to hide behind, fit my pulse under, coil my shame into a thick lock. Excuse me. I must apologize. I have just this instant become bored with my own quarter-life crisis. The only thing that sparks joy is talking about my demise. Sometimes I have to laugh and spread my fingers around my throat, hollow myself out of it. I don't want what happened last time to happen again. An unlikable me fumbling around in the dark, trying to make light with the friction of my dumb feet. Maybe I'll sob in the shower tonight. Maybe I'll write a bad poem and stamp it in the braille of barren seeds. Maybe I'll tell myself a joke and count the seconds it takes for me to realize no one is here to laugh at me. My hysteria full of bees. Maybe I'll tell the truth to your blank face. I am sad, 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 I am trying my absolute hardest to like this unlikable me. Maybe I'll hurl myself at you again and again until you grow arms and splinter into me like a raw hug, all the while knowing this letter was supposed to be addressed to my mother. Okay, so I think I'll do a couple more. So I'm queer, we know this. I enjoy sex. I do not let a period stop me from good sex, and hence a period poem. Yeah, we got there. We went there. Quick turn. So this is called Blood Sex. I actually have to take a sip of alcohol before I do this. Nothing like tequila to quench the thirst. Okay. Blood sex. And when we are finished, I ask if she thinks us grotesque. Two plain monsters basking in our blood, our liquid plaque. We celebrate the art of our unmaking. She spirals my body into a single drop, ambrosia spoiled by the gods. I signature her singed moan, grind it down until it becomes my own dim map. Let me tell you a secret. Even the gods fuck. Crown themselves in gardens pastured by snakes. I'm crying, not out of shame, but out of tradition, to have mastered this want, only to carve for it a lock, a name as queer as unholy. How queer it fits inside the mouth. How queer is my woman in the sweat she makes of me, a sweet trick of her tongue. Don't we deserve a handmade altar? Don't we deserve a crowd of worshipers to carry our bed? And yes, please, to the beads, the sacred wars, the body ornaments, the vein-eyed statues pulsing deep with our flood. Yes, to the orchestrated violence, a quiver lit down my spine. May our blood sex the skies like a storm of gods high off terror. Oh Zeus, oh Oshun, oh Ra, oh Kali, oh God. Yes, God, even he can hear me. I'm going to read this poem off my phone. So the unfortunate thing about me, and this is actually an insecurity of mine, I don't really have a huge ass, even though I so desperately want one. Like really, really bad, you know, I'm down bad. I'm cute, right? But sometimes, you know, I wish it was a little bit more. Thank you. So this is called Catalog of Ass, and I'm basically personifying other people's asses, and you know, let's see what their asses do when, you know, people aren't looking. Catalog of ass. One ass spilled out the frayed shorts, the skirt, the jeans. One ass cleared a whole path and jiggled when Juvenile blasted through the sneakers. One ass bursted open in a handstand. One ass stood expectant, waiting for instructions. One ass is small, lands flat like a bad joke. One ass gets it from its mama. One ass got it from a basement syringe. One ass took a yellow powdered pill that still didn't work. One ass takes a long jog around the block. One ass wears a bonnet to sleep. One ass mows the lawn when it waits for the mailman. One ass is still under construction. One ass lives in Europe, floats in a glass jar. Children stand behind it, pointing. One ass wore white leggings to church. One ass wore a thong imprinted with strawberry ice cream cones to church. One ass pinned a diamond stud in each dimple. One ass practiced yoga. One ass balanced a champagne glass on its face. One ass charged men $20. One ass is printed on a $20 bill. One ass lets them smack it purple across the cheeks. One ass didn't give permission for the picture. One ass has 1 million followers. One ass gets followed 1 million times. One ass lures hands with vinegar. One ass is afraid of bus stops. One carries a cement block. One leaves a trail of wasp. One takes itself off, hangs it next to the furs in its closet. One ass built itself out of brown paper mache. One ass got a 3-hour special on the Discovery Channel. One ass lays face down, knees pressed into metal stirrups, grief a bent parabola outbending it. Okay. And I think I'm gonna do one more. No, you want more? Okay, I might do 2. Okay, let's see. Y'all are very sweet. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much. If you have any alcoholic beverages or just water, feel free to take a sip from me. Okay, so these last 2 poems are solely gonna be kind of about my mother. This one's a bit intimate. It talks about domestic violence a little bit, which is what I kind of grew up with. I'm just gonna get into it. This is called Logic of Brawl. The rules of a fight, according to my mother, are simple. If they hit you, you hit them back, preferably harder, preferably with enough force to white flag an apology, and if not an apology, then at least knock out their tooth, preferably the canine, the root sword, the blood winner, and if the canine is too stubborn, too spoiled by the cocky hold of gum and jaw, then of course at that point with your elbow or your knee or just the will of her good grace, you make them surrender their entire mouth, reconstruct their entire face. This is only fair, she teaches me. This logic of brawl, this marriage of bone to concrete, and I know my mother, the once black-eyed referee, a red flag soaking in her husband's violence. I know how clever a woman must be to make a man think he's won, and it's not that she doesn't know how to mother me away from a fight. It's just with her timeline of scars, she's become too skilled at what she does, and no, running is not what she does. And if I can count on my mother for anything, it is to land the softest blow, which is why I cannot explain that time with my brother and his hand that broke into a fist, and his fist that broke me, made pain seep into my arm like sap, and perhaps the throb was just a simple acknowledgement of blood recognizing blood, and I wish my mother My certain coach could at least stick to the rules broken by her little boy, the man who splits into the image of his father, too spoiled by the cock of gun and familial law. And no, of course, I couldn't take him. Just like how she could not run away from her husband, but God damn it, I did not want an apology. I wanted to gut the canine, cleaver straight through him, finally win the fight. My brother and I have a complicated relationship that we're trying to mend. So that's the good thing about that poem. Basically, I told him if he touched me again, I'm gonna have to fuck him up. For real, for real. Okay, and this is gonna be my last poem. This is a super, super special poem in my heart. So one thing about me, I have a speech impediment. I know, right? Sometimes I can cover it up really good, but I slur my words a lot. And when I was younger, I would have to be taken out of my classes. It would be really embarrassing, and my teachers would make me go through these really intense speech therapy lessons. So this is just about that. The other side is that one time I went to South Africa. Has anyone ever been to South Africa? No? Okay. You have? Okay, what part? Nice. Okay. I was in Durham. I was in Durham, South Africa, right on the, oh, you have been. Okay. So right on the Indian Ocean. It was beautiful. But the thing about in South Africa, people might not know this, but South Africans speak like, not South Africans, but like in the country, there's about, I think, like 22 official languages, right? It's a lot of languages, one of which being Zulu. So my friend tried to teach me Zulu. And I don't know if people speak Zulu here or have ever spoken or listened to Zulu, but you kind of lisp your words. In American ear, it sounds like you're lisping your words. And I'm just like, dang, if I didn't have to go to these speech classes, I'd be able to speak this language better. And I came to this conclusion. So I believe that the body remembers everything, right? Even things from the ancestors. And I believe that before my people was stolen from their land, we had our own language. And my lisp, my slurring of the words is my body's attempt at memory and fighting off colonization. So this is called mother tongue. I think I have it memorized, but we'll see. Little known fact. During the antebellum era, runaway slaves were most commonly categorized in two ways. First, by their appearance, their clothing or lack thereof, their weight and body size. Second, by their mouths, teeth, missing tongues, or in most cases, stutters. Little known fact. Speech impediments can be caused by psychological trauma. Every person in my family carries a speech impediment like an heirloom. My mother is best known for her mouth, her swollen tongue, her teeth or lack thereof that was knocked out and replaced after her first marriage. I am best known for my lisp. There are certain words I do not know how to say. I practice speaking in the mirror, familiarize myself with a language that draws blood to my gums. If I speak for too long, my mouth rusts. My mother took me to speech class because my teachers called me stupid, called me learning disability, called me case study therapist, called me lazy tongue, say I speak with vowels chained by the limbs. I say, what has your degree taught you about chains? I say, trauma never leaves the same way it enters. It anchors itself to the bone. Every tooth becomes an ancestor's skull. Their pain has settled in my blood, and I do not know how to release it. No matter how many dead bodies ago the suffering occurred, I do not know exactly why I started to lisp, but once I was made to pledge allegiance to a murderous flag, and my tongue has been limping ever since. I do not know why my vowels blister against their own heat, but once a man Let's call him America. Placed 2 fingers in my mouth, held down my tongue, commanded me to speak. Little known fact, when you place a fist in the mouth, the tongue instinctively wraps around the knuckle. Water rushes in through the sides, slushes the letter S. Even save can sound like slave. Even a voice can drown. I do not have a lazy tongue. I have a tongue paralyzed from constant warfare. They keep saying, why are you American if you can't speak the language? I say I'm bilingual. Once death enters the mouth, every word spoken becomes a eulogy. Every name I call upon prepares for its funeral. I do not know if they're angry with me for butchering their language or resentful. I've managed to build a house out of a casket, and they can't play landlord. Little known fact, Emmett Till had a stutter. Sometimes he stuttered so hard he whistled. Sometimes I slur so hard I hiss when they come for me. They will say I spoke in twisted tongues, the language of the damned, the language of the whip and scar, the living and the dead. They will say I spoke as if my tongue was a swaying body. I will say my tongue is a swaying body. And I get it from my mother. Thank you. Thank you. So I think we're going to engage in the Q&A. Thank you so much.
You all stopped too soon. Let's give another round of applause for Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
I'll say this once now, and I'll say it again. The best thing you can do for a poet is share that language. If there is something that stuck out with you tonight, something that you remembered, go tell someone else. Say Crystal's name, say Crystal's name, say Crystal Valentine's name, buy her work, right? This doesn't just have to stop here. It can be spread, and so do that love.
Thank you.
Of course.
Woo!
All right, so we got a little bit of time for a Q&A. This last poem, Crystal, ancestry, connection. And, you know, I think we often think of ancestry as something blood-related, genealogical. But I'm curious because you have such a wealth of poetry and it's coming from all these different places. Who might be some of your kind of political and poetic ancestors? Who do you kind of reach to give you that inspiration? Who was your, familial tie? Who gave you that?
So I'll say that my mother, and she's not a poet at all, but she is the first person who cared to learn how I talked. And she was the first person to care to learn my language. And my mother and I, we've been through a lot together. There was times where we did not get along. She did struggle with alcoholism. She did completely stop drinking once she got diagnosed, and that's a hard thing to do, and I'm so proud of her. So definitely my mother, and then of course I have to say people like Audre Lorde. I have to say Gwendolyn Brooks, who is one of the mothers of just Black feminism poetry. Phyllis Wheatley as well, one of the first Black poets in North America, if not the world. We don't know that history yet, right? So definitely those people, I call on them a lot. And my mentor, Mahogany L. Brown, of course, has taught me, yes, has taught me a lot of what I know, and I love her dearly, and I need to go see her soon.
Thank you. It's important to touch back, right? It's important to kind of stay rooted and know who those folks are. So thank you for sharing those names too.
Oh wait, I have one more. Okay, so also
go.
my partner. So my partner's also a poet. She considers herself a queer dyke feminist. I love her. Her name is Portia Olaiwola. I have to say her name as well.
Yes. Love y'all, love.
And she just texted me.
She heard your name. She heard her name real quick. so much of your work taps into the spectrum of human emotion, joy, pain, grief. I wonder if you can speak a little bit about how you choose a poem or how a poem comes to you in terms of what you tap into, what brings it about. Is it, how you're feeling that day? Is it, if you could just speak a little bit to the inspiration for individual poems.
Yeah, so for a long time, I started writing like these, I call them like diss poems. So like, just like straight up like, bad-mouthing people whom I do not like. Yes. But mostly it's just like kind of like politicians and stuff like that, right? So not like nobody's mama, but someone who I think is a detriment to society or someone who I think steals from me and my people. And I kind of had to stop doing that because I do not only want poetry to be this language to talk to my enemies, right? I want it to be a love language as well. I want to call forth my ancestors and my people. I want to inspire other people as well. So I got to the point where me and my mom, again, we kind of like had like a little bit of a falling out. I wasn't talking to her that much, and I had to write about it. It was what was most on my heart, and it kind of helped me kind of digest everything that was going on between us. I'm not sure if folks have had those rocky relationships with their moms. Yeah, so, and moms, being a mom is a hard job. I have to say that as well. So I think in trying to understand her, trying to understand that she is an actual woman and a mother and a wife, right? Carrying all of these things, also a hard worker, right? Doing poems and writing poems really kind of gave me the opportunity to see her in a different light.
That's beautiful. Thank you. My last question, and I love you have the accolades, you have the success. Poetry has given you a lot, as you have given poetry a lot. But something not on your titles is a change maker, right? Like someone who is a literary activist. And I wondered if you could speak to your role. Here we have a live audience. You have a book, right? Some of it's on the page, some of it's on the stage. But what do you kind of think of as your role as a poet performer in the world? And what kind of inspiring message might you have for people who want to pursue this and want to do what you do and touch people in the way that you do?
Yeah, so the thing is that poetry is historically kind of like, it's been gatekept a lot by white people who did not want other folk. And like white people, I'm talking about straight people, cis people, right? I'm talking about, so it goes down the line. And I write poem that is non-traditional. Sometimes people will see my work and say, like, oh, it only belongs like on a stage or something like that. And I think I fight against that in particular. Yeah. I did a lot of slam, and I think that slam poets get a bad rep, which is just elitism, right? So I really kind of dislike academia, even though I work adjacent with academia in terms of like getting an MFA, in terms of like teaching at a college right now, right? I'm basically just fighting against power structures. If you want to write, you gotta write. You can't let nobody in their old Shakespearean languages try to keep you down, right? I kind of just really do it for my people as well. I do it for my homies. I do it so that I write in a language that the people who I come from can understand me. Make no mistake, I want them to know what I'm talking about, and they will.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence, your poetry.
Thank you.
I don't know about you all, but I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling energized. In so many ways, even with that pain, I'm feeling healed. So thank you for sharing your work with us. And again, spread the word, right? Spread a line, share Crystal Valentine's name. See, I'm a poet too. I was rhyming. See all that rhyming out there? All right, you all have a good night and stick around. I think there's some more events going to be happening. So thank you all for your time and for your ears.
Thank you so much. You are wonderful. Thank you.